Well, as you come into Winslow, another welcoming sign. I always enjoy seeing the image of my statue advertising the town. It took so much out of me to make that statue. I had never done anything like that before. And to see the reception that it gets, and that it's an advertisement into this town. For miles around, you'll see this particular type of a sign. And of course, you know, it's showing the visitor center and what's here. The Hamalabi Ruin State Park, things like that. Get a chance, come to Winslow. It's Monday morning in Winslow. A little traffic is starting to flow. It's a beautiful day. So I get asked often, you know, why did I, or how was I chosen? I get testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, so all of a sudden I'm in Montana in the snow and ice, and that's because there's just too much noise on the corner with the morning traffic. And when I was editing the video here in Montana, I couldn't hear myself speak, so here I am where it's quiet and colder, of course. So back to the corner in Winslow, but a lot of times people want to know how this statue came about, and that's why I'm putting out this particular video. So it's taken me a while to get at it, but one thing that helps people to understand what happened at the statue is a book that I've written. It's called The Road to Winslow, The Making of the Easy Statue. And at the end of this video, I'll have an address where it can be ordered. On the wall behind me, there's a little of the history, and I'll give you a shot of that. And read the names of the ones that were involved in the original committee. Now, some of these have passed away. These were some very clever people that had the insight to figure out just what this song could do for their town. You know, John Pugh is the mural artist. He's got me listed there as a sculptor. And of course we had to have an architect, and that is Lauren Sadler. Alright, so I have a little bit of an extra thing here. As you may have known, the statue in Winslow has been featured on TV shows like Jeopardy! It was one of the questions asked. They showed my statue and asked what song inspired that particular statue. So obviously the corner has become really famous around the world, and of course the Eagles song Take It Easy is what contributed to that. And I was fortunate enough to be the one to make the statue. And once the statue was placed, and there was a place for people to go, consequently, that's kind of a hub in Winslow now, and you certainly want to go there. But what I'd like to show you too is that as I've been on podcasts, Alec Lacasa's put me on his podcast on carving, and Anthony Arno put me on a podcast. Anyway, been on a lot of things, but the statue's also inspired some other things. Now, I'm not going to say it inspired these books, but Jolene Slotokova and Bo W. Daniels wrote a trilogy called The Secrets of Coyote Canyon. And I came in as a consultant initially. PJ Blue Wolf from the Colville Reservation would ride in the suicide races and so on. And this is a fictitious story where this particular man wants to transition from being a wood carver to sculpting in stone. And I had that experience, so I became a consultant in these books, and then I became a character in the book. Although it's fiction, it does name me Ron Adamson, and it talks about my spot that I'm standing on right here in Libby, Montana, along the Kootenai River. Well, this particular character in the book, I become his mentor, and he wants to learn how to sculpt in stone, and it becomes kind of a mystery
book, kind of an intriguing book. I think you'll enjoy it. And I'll post the information at the end of this video so that you can order directly from the artists. And they live in Arizona.
Well, we hope you all had as much fun this past hour as we presented our books. And 42 snippets of songs. Now, you may think that you don't need to read our books now, but believe me, you only got a little taste of what's inside. So we hope we've piqued your interest enough to make you want to read the stories for yourself. And remember, as you read our records, let them take you on a personal journey felt and understood only by you. And since music and memory are so closely linked in the brain, now when you read our books, little bits of songs are going to be popping into your head when you read that part.
I'm going to introduce Ron, and then we'll give you guys some prizes. So, in all our fiction is some very true and also a one and of a kind and one and only real character. You don't know that yet, you can find out. Because he's a lifelong friend and a world-famous artist. He is the creator of the world-famous statue standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. So you've probably seen his artwork before. And he's a friend of mine in the family because we grew up and lived in Montana. And there's been quite a few here from Montana. And I'd like to introduce to you by reading a portion of our book that talks about the only real life character, Mr. Adamson.
This is in book 2, so here's a lot more in book 3, but just 15 minutes after leaving the falls, Jackson pulled onto Ron's property. Ron was outside working in what he likes to call his office. Chainsaw in hand, he was carving away on a huge log. It looked as if this work of art would end up being a full-size bear standing upright. Jackson began to laugh. Ron looked like Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber, taking chunks of wood off as he swung his saber side to side. Ron squinted so he could see better. Still unable to make out who it was, he yelled, "Blue Wolf, is that you?"
Mr. Ron Adamson.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here, obviously. The odd thing is to be in a book. First off, they asked me to be a consultant, so I had to think about that because they were writing a story about a guy from the Colville Reservation, and he talked about the Omak Stampede. Well, I used to do an art show there back in the 80s, so I knew about this. I also transitioned from being a wood carver to becoming a bronze sculptor. And consequently, probably everybody here has heard of the statue in Winslow, Arizona. You didn't know I did it, though, did you? I'm the most famous unknown artist that there is. People come from all over the world to have their picture taken there, and they have no idea who the artist is. And a lot of times that's the way it is with an author. Sometimes there'll be a good story, a good book out there. The author doesn't always get the credit. So we really hope we could do a little bit to change that. Their books are good. They're getting started in the writing business, and they're off to a really good start. I'm really honored to be a part of that. And I thank you all for being here. And I thank them for including me in their book. They included Mike Oliver and Jan. And I don't really have too much more to say other than I'm unknown.
Ron, step back for Mike just a second. Maybe you can tell them what's coming up in September.
Well, September is the 25th anniversary of the statue. Now, I called him Easy. And believe it or not, I was predominantly a wood carver when they asked me to do this thing. And they asked, because I had a web page before anybody else did, as far as I can tell, I'm the first guy to have one in North America, and that's how they found me. It was a committee of people in Winslow, and they asked if I would submit a proposal to do a statue for this corner in Winslow, Arizona. Well, I was at an art show in Bishop, California. I called my wife, because you didn't have cell phones yet. You couldn't bring a little laptop with you. Computers had a eyeball on him that was this big. You know. And I said, you know, I got this web page going. So anyway, they asked me, would you submit a proposal, you know, to do this thing, and I'm a wood carver. And I'm asking my wife, because I called home, and she's the one who read the email. So I said, well, what did you say? And she says, well, I said, yes, I'd be interested in submitting the proposal, because they had to send me the material and fill out. And she says, thank you, and take it easy. Well, the song Take It Easy, you know, I'm standing on the corner. So that's where it started. Now, we negotiated for a long time, and when I was a kid, I was kicked out of art class because I never learned how to draw. The drawing thing, my brain is. I've always said I was a three-dimensional artist, and a two-dimensional class didn't work too well. So eventually, the committee asked me to send them a drawing, and I said, well, I really don't draw. And they're like, this guy's one wacko. And so I made a small version of the statue. And I came to Winslow with it, but I hadn't played the guitar. Anyway, so I meet with the committee. My idea, because they just asked me, what's your idea of a 70s guy? They didn't give me a picture to go by. I had to come up with it. So I thought, well, a guy standing on the corner. I'm standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see. It's a girl. Well, I gotta be cool if I'm standing there, you know. Okay, I'll play the guitar. She didn't know I got it. I'm in the music business. So I went down there with this thing, the statue's holding the guitar. They take me to the corner. It's the worst part of town. There's nothing there but busted glass and weeds and empty buildings. And I'm like, I finally get a decent commission, and they're going to put it, you know, on the North Pole. I mean, basically, nobody's going to see it. And what was happening was the town was drying up, and these people in Winslow had the presence of mind to capitalize on this song. Now, I was there in February, 26 years ago, and it was cold. We're talking, and this cars started pulling up every now and then, come off of I-40. And they'd get out of their car with a suitcase camera. You know, they didn't have a little flat cell phone back then. They're getting out with a suitcase camera, and they're going, where's the corner? Where's the corner? And I look at this one guy gets out of his car, and he's wearing these fancy clothes, and he's driving a Pontiac Trans Am like Smokey and the Bandit, the big hawk on the Eagle, the Phoenix, whatever it is on the hood. And he goes, would you take a picture of me and my wife or whatever? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, where's the corner? I said, pick one. So we take a picture. And I said, just by chance, you know, I see you're from Pennsylvania from your license plate. What do you do? So he gives me his business card, and he's the vice president of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I thought, and then another car pulls up, somebody gets out, and I'm thinking, maybe this will turn into something. Well, it went a lot of years, as you can tell, where nobody ever knew anything about that corner. Well, social media picked up. How many of you have had a friend send you a picture of them standing there, or have you been there and emailed off? Does it happen to anybody here? Yeah. I was with the Olivers in Florida last week, and I wore my shirt, you know, standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona with my statue on it. And people that felt like they could talk to a stranger, they would go, hey, I was just there. And I'd go, oh, okay, in Winslow. Yeah, and I said, well, guess what? I made the statue. And they go, yeah. And I don't want that bridge in Brooklyn either. Eventually they'd figure out that I was telling the truth, you know. And then they'd go, oh, can we shake your hand? Can I take a picture with you? Holy cow, you just made my day. And simply put, I was just trying to feed my kids. So that's kind of how it happened with the statue. Anyway, back to the guitar. When I was standing on the corner, and they told me they were going to put it in Weed City, we went back to the hotel and I said, we have a problem. And they looked at me like, we don't have a problem. Maybe you have a problem. And I said, well, usually you make a sculpture and you put it on a pedestal. They said they just wanted it flat on the sidewalk, which was really a smart idea. And I said, okay, well, that's good. I got that. but we can't have him playing the guitar because if there's a kid riding a bike at night, he's losing his teeth if it doesn't tell him. And it went, oh. So it took its position, because it was a play. I broke the arm off, I took the guitar, and I stuck the guitar on his boot. So that's how it wound up, holding the guitar on his boot in Winslow, in case you're wondering. So I don't play the guitar. I'm not a musician. I'm more of a con artist than anything. So that's how it took its position, but it went from. Now the really, really weird Twilight Zone part of the story. Let me have my phone.
Oh, I need to play the Twilight song again.
Oh, did you sing it? My mother grew up in Norway, so she lived through the Nazi occupation and all that during World War II. And when I was a little boy, I was born in Montana. But my grandfather had told me that when he was in the Norwegian Navy, he and two other guys got off at San Pedro and drove all the way to Brooklyn. And at every state, they stopped and had beer. Well, he actually took a picture. I'll let you see this. I'll explain it. And he was very, very Norwegian. He said, and when we were sailors, us sailors, well, we could take a drink, So we limited ourselves to one beer at every state. Well, 10 years after I made the statue, my mother had passed away, and I was going through her pictures from Norway. My grandfather is in this picture holding a guitar, like the statue.
Oh, wow.
Now think about that. I did not know this picture existed until 10 years after I made the statue.
Where's he standing on?
He's standing on, I think, by Kingman, but it's Arizona Route 66 before pavement. And I'm not a car guy, but people tell me it's mid-30s or early 30s. And I'll let you look at this picture if you want. I think it's on my website. So, now for me, I lived in Montana, like Danny was saying. I became a wood carver as a young guy. And in living in Montana, when you sell 3 wood carvings, everybody that wants one has one. So the internet was a godsend for me. And when I found out, because of my cousin who was in telecommunications in the Navy, his name was Rocky Selvak, he came home on leave and he said, you got a web page yet? And I said, I'm not going to get a web page at my age. And he says, shut up, sit down. He turned on his computer, a big eyeball screen, and he showed me a mouse and how you could point and click with a mouse. 7 days later, I had a web page. I had to have the help of a lady named Sue Feedback that did web pages, but within another few days, I had a scanner, and I could scan my pictures and put them on. You remember 1 hour photo? You're doing your artwork, you go take all these pictures, you run down to 1 hour photo, you go back in an hour and you get your pictures, you go, I gotta go back, take them over, and go back to 1 hour photo. Well, now we got digital, so just think how the internet helps. All right.
Okay, wait, one more.
Oh.
September of this year.
Oh yeah, I got off the subject.
No.
Man, put a microphone in front of an artist and then shut up.
Make September better.
All right, so in September, it's the 25th anniversary of the statue. It's September, it's the very last Friday and Saturday of September. And so that's
Live music, Ron gets to get up and speak.
Oh, I do. I get between the bands. They have tribute bands.
If you're just getting the books, if you'd like, you can also have Ron Adamson sign them as well.
Well, I mentioned in all 3 books. They put me in all 3. They put me in as in the acknowledgments. I think you called me as mentor in the first book. I think I got 1 line in the first book, chapter and a half in the second book, and not in the third book.
Pictures in the third book.
It is. The statue is. We call ourselves a stand on the corner gang because we were all there. They were selling books. I was selling, believe it or not, T-shirts that said I stood on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. There's actually a couple of them here. Sir.
Have you met the Eagles?
Now that's a good question. I had tickets to go backstage about 2 years ago to meet him. The guy that was friends, a man named Troy Winslow, almost hung up on him because when he said his name was Winslow, I thought it was a prank call. He was friends with Glenn Fry. And he gave me a hat Glenn Fry had signed him. And he got arranged for me to get a backstage pass. And COVID hit. I met him that close. I was within 10 Jackson Brown in Sedona, Arizona, talking to his manager about the statue, because initially they asked me to make it of him. And so I had started to part the hair that way. Look at the statue, it still has the hair that way. And Cree Clover was her name, and she said he doesn't want it of him. Now think about this, he really wrote the song. I'm standing on the corner. But he didn't finish it, and he met Glenn Fry in Los Angeles, and they both lived in the same apartment. And somehow he heard him playing, or one of the two heard the other playing outside, and became friends, got together, and they finished the song. So anyway, he said, make the song of the Eagles. The committee told me that I was working with, I was not allowed to make anyone a member of the band. If you think about it, that would have broke them up in '99. So I made you, and I didn't make you. What's this? Or my chocolate. I mean, maybe they weren't that way, but you can picture it, you know. There are egos in bands. All of it. So anyway, I gotta say, I give Jackson Brown a lot of credit for letting them have, you know, that song commemorate them, because he really had a lot to do with writing it.
Guess what? I actually got closer to Jackson Brown than him. Jackson Brown walked out of the Best Buy in Prescott as I was walking in. We were face to face. And I saw the look on his face said, do not talk to me. And I said, have a nice day, and I walked into the store.
Any other questions before I get off here? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't it cool to have a friend and use him in a book?
Places, yeah.
And see why he's a character. Okay, so we're going to do a little giveaway just to say thanks as well for a few things.